Hey, good afternoon and welcome everyone to another wonderful Oasis webinar here on a terrific Tuesday. Hope you're enjoying some lunch and getting ready to learn with myself and our esteemed colleagues here from Oasis as we talk about leading your remote sales team to success. My name's Aaron Rosenberg, and I'm very thankful and proud to be a partner at Oasis Solutions and our Senior Vice President of Business Development. I've been at Oasis Solutions now, just celebrated my 5th anniversary. Oasis has been very grateful to be named a Fast 50 award winner for 3 years running. That's a distinction given to privately held fast growth revenue businesses here in the greater Kentucky area. And I've been leading our sales team since 2011. So I'm going to be talking about my experience leading a variety of sales teams, both at very large, multi-billion-dollar corporation, as well as with a startup where I was started my first day working out of the founder's 3rd bedroom apartment in his condo, as well as now with Oasis Solutions, which is a great small business here in Louisville in the Kentucky area. I'm joined by my colleague, Matt Simons. Matt actually worked with me about a decade ago at that large media corporation. And Matt has been in a sales leader role as a national sales director, chief revenue officer at a variety of different organizations, and then now has joined Oasis. We're very lucky to have him as our VP of Business Development. He's been doing sales leadership roles here for the past decade. As I mentioned, been selling to CFO, Chief Human Resources Officer, CIO position, and then he's just passionate about helping to create efficiencies, eliminate bottlenecks, improve workflows and business efficiencies for our customers. We're going to be going through a demonstration today of NetSuite CRM led by Michael Drury. Michael's a partner at Oasis Solutions, has been with the company almost 17 years. He leads our cloud initiatives and projects, helps me find good fits for our customers by demonstrating the power of the product and the NetSuite application and how it can help our customers generate more revenue. And also today specifically we'll be looking at how it can help a sales leader manage their sales force, particularly now in this environment where most people are working remotely. And he has extensive experience with the CRM and ERP solutions that NetSuite provides. Our guest speaker today is not in the Oasis Solutions brand, is Steve Mullen. Steve has been managing remote teams for over 26 years. It typically has up to 20 direct reports and is responsible for about $15 million in new business here. And NetSuite just turned over their new fiscal year leaf and about $24 million in renewals. So quite a sizable amount of revenue that rolls up to Steve. And he's got a lot of experience that he's going to share with us today. So as we get started, just a couple quick housekeeping notes. We're going to have a Q&A throughout. That's going to be a virtual Q&A. So if you have questions, please put them into the Q&A box and we can either monitor those as we go. If you have any issues with seeing the slides change or volume, etc., let us know that as well. Flana Callahan, our marketing manager, will take good care of you. We also want to have some questions that we can answer at the end of the webinar as well. So if you'd like to ask a question, again, please use the handy Q&A box there on Zoom. We always want to make sure that we provide a presentation, the materials here that you're going through as a PDF, as well as a full recording of today's presentation and demonstration to all of our attendees. So you can share that with your colleagues, friends, family, etc. So what's in store for today? Well, we're going to have an action-packed agenda here, folks. We're going to talk a little bit about Oasis because we might have some folks on here that aren't familiar with our partnership approach and how we really help our clients leverage these solutions and technology applications that they invest a lot of time and resources in. And I have a brief about NetSuite, which is our partner in the cloud. We've been a NetSuite solution provider partner since 2012. We'll talk a little bit about what that looks like in our relationship with NetSuite. And then Steve, Matt, and I are going to discuss 4 tips that we have all used for managing remote salespeople as sales managers. And we're going to get into a demonstration here. Michael's going to take us through about a 20-25 minute NetSuite CRM demonstration. Again, at the end, we've got some time here, hopefully, for some Q&A. So if you're all enjoying your lunch while we go through this brief presentation. Oasis Solutions has been in business helping clients to evaluate, select, implement, and support their core business management systems for 29 years. We just celebrated our 29th anniversary, actually May 1st. And I mentioned that we've been really grateful and worked really hard to become a Fast 50 company 3 years in a row. We also have some other recent accolades that I think help set us apart in the marketplace, particularly on our Best Place to Work awards. Those are both for the greater Kentuckiana region, which encompasses Louisville and Southern Indiana, and the state of Kentucky. Because we know that we have happy consultants, happy employees, that makes for happy customers. Industry distinctions as well from Bob Scott, who puts out an annual list of top 100 value-added resellers, which we're proud to be a part of. So we've been on that list 3 years in a row as well. And a lot of that trajectory in that fast growth revenue stream has been from our success helping clients leverage NetSuite as a great cloud technology. So as I mentioned a little earlier, we've been a NetSuite solution provider partner here for 8 going on 9 years since 2012. And we've been a Sage reseller for almost 30 years since the life of the company. Back in 2012, we decided that we wanted to diversify our offerings, and really it was a market shift, a market push. A lot of the folks that we were talking about in the marketplace were asking us about cloud technology, how we were going to potentially leverage cloud solutions for our customers. And so Michael was instrumental actually in embedding out these different solutions along with our leadership team, and we settled on NetSuite as really the ultimate fit for our customer base, the types of companies that we associate with, and we've been on a really fast growth trajectory with those customers and with NetSuite ever since. Now NetSuite was and is the first cloud company. They have been only available through the internet to run your business since the early 90s. They have 10,000 plus employees globally now, 21,000 plus customers worldwide. Were acquired and brought under the Oracle banner back in 2016. I've seen record growth and over 4,500 new logos were added in the last 12 months. I'm sure Steve's seen quite a few new logos and has helped us achieve that growth as well. And just to, again, reiterate kind of our position as a solution provider partner for NetSuite. Back in 2019, we went to Suite World, NetSuite's annual customer partner and development conference. And we were really proud to hear that 50% of NetSuite's revenue that year came from solution provider partners like Oasis Solutions. So we're really driving the growth that NetSuite has dictated for new logos and for helping customers in the mid-market leverage this technology. We deliver that last mile functionality, but we're really experts at helping to understand the business requirements. NetSuite is a great product, and we align our services to help our customers leverage that product. So looking for a partner for the life of our customers' business, and that's what I tell prospects when we get involved in early stage sales cycles is we're not just here to help you select and implement a product or have one successful project, but we really want to work with you for the life of your business. And for the next 30 years at Oasis, we hope that we can continue to work with our customers and they'll never have to leave the CRP or our services. So I've got a quick poll here because we're interested to know how people are managing their sales teams today. So I'm going to launch this poll, and the question today is, how does your sales team look today? And maybe it looks the same as it did pre-COVID-19, but we want to know, were you already managing a remote sales team? Are you now having to adapt to managing a remote sales team? Maybe you're considering moving more of your sales operations off-site now as well. So I'll give folks a minute here just to chime in and answer the poll. So I asked Steve, to join us today because he's got a lot of experience managing remote sales teams, and that's really the way that he's been doing it for quite a while. Luckily for Oasis, we were all we had remote members on our team and had the technology preparation and the applications in place to help them continue business as normal and service our clients. throughout that process. All right, we've got about a minute in, so it looks like we have some folks that were already managing a remote sales team, and somebody that's also considering more of the sales operations offsite. So we've got some people with experience managing remote sales teams as well. That helps us out a little bit. Well, I suppose I was supposed to launch this a little earlier. Apologies. All right, so we are going to share a couple of tips that we've implemented across our sales operations and organizations so that we can help you all as well. So one of the things that we wanted to start with was really the start. So before you actually bring a salesperson onto your team, a remote salesperson, I wanted to talk about, how do you hire the right people? What kind of qualities are you looking for when you hire your remote sales staff? So Steve, what kind of qualities are you looking for when you are bringing new people onto your team?
Yeah, well, certainly we like to make sure that they're comfortable working in a remote environment. I think you find that with more mature salespeople that have experience and have kind of cut their teeth in the sales world, they're probably a little bit more comfortable working remote, not having that instant camaraderie of meeting at the water cooler and being able to stick their head in their boss's office. So I do look for people that have A, some sales experience, and B, have shown the ability to work remotely without having somebody looking over their shoulder or just having the need to be around their peers day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we're looking at, people that have had previous remote sales experience. Is there a minimum number of years that you're typically looking for? Is it something that they've done for 3 to 5 years? What do you think is a good number?
I think as long as they have some experience and they've shown that they can be successful and they actually like that kind of environment, that's all I need to see.
Yeah, I think one of the things that resonated with me when we kind of went through the pre-call here last week was you talking about, you're looking for people that you don't have to necessarily teach sales to. They just have to learn your product, right? And that was one of the things that was really what we were looking at when we brought Matt in to Oasis as well. Looking for somebody that already had, maturity and experience leading sales teams, was going to be a good sales leader for our organization, and just needed to learn how we did things and how we and what NetSuite does and doesn't do, so that you can qualify those for customers out in the marketplace.
Aaron, I think I would even add too that people need to be able to leverage modern technology as well. If you're not comfortable delivering Zoom meetings or operating in a remote environment using primarily technology to prospect and things like that, then you're certainly going to be at a disadvantage to those that do know how to leverage social media, meeting tools, etc.
Yeah, that's a good point, Matt. I like to think of myself as the most technologically advanced person at the dinner table, but I'm probably the least one around the conference room. And I know we've had those conversations just recently, right, as we're having to adapt to remote selling. And having those types of nuances that are different from having people in our conference room, right? Where we know if we have folks in the conference room, we can show off, our employees, we can have that face-to-face interaction. It's a little bit of a different angle, right? We're having this television show, as I like to think about it. So how do you make sure that you're producing and directing the best show that you can? You can't obviously see everyone all the time either. Right? A lot of people aren't comfortable on camera, et cetera. So, or you might have issues with communication, telephone, logging in, et cetera. Steve, I'm curious, do you all use any kind of assessments to see, if this person is a good fit from a remote perspective versus, do they need some of that, like you said, water cooler chat, need to be a little bit more social?
Yeah, we ask those kinds of questions, how comfortable they are, working remote and maybe not seeing their colleagues or seeing their manager. I've got somebody that's new on my team that we hired in the middle of this pandemic, and I have yet to meet her face to face. She's based in California. She's now been on the team about 6 months and have not met her in person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just kind of the reality of the new world. But I think between, you know, I usually talk to potential candidates. I make sure others on my team talk with potential candidates, and we just, you know, kind of huddle and see that we're all comfortable that this person seems to have the right approach to be successful in a remote environment. And so far, we've been really lucky. We haven't had anybody that's not been a fit solely because working remote's been a problem.
Well, that's good. Then you must be doing something right with your interview questions and tactics. We started using a assessment called the PXT, and they're not a sponsor today, but I would recommend it for other folks and have for other business owners out there that are looking to get a sense of what type of aptitude and attitude the people that you're bringing into the organization may have. It's an interesting assessment. I've taken it. I would also recommend that if you're going to use an assessment for interviewing candidates, that you should also go through that assessment too. But what it does is it helps us to establish kind of a baseline based on people that we know are a good fit in the organization that have been successful. So we use the answers that they have had and taking the assessment, and then you give it out to a new candidate. They take it and it measures that on the baseline of that successful employee. So it does help to actually indicate levels of comfort with sociability and independence. So some things that you probably wouldn't be surprised about seeing on those results is if we have a new developer that we're hiring, right, they may have a 1 out of 10 on sociability, whereas a new salesperson on the team might be closer to an 8 or 9 out of 10. And so I think what it helps is to ensure that you remember to ask those questions, Steve, about, hey, this is going to be a remote position. What's your plan for having some social interaction throughout the day? I've had people that, you know, will go to Starbucks for an hour or go out to lunch, things like that, so that they get that social interaction that they need, but they can still become productive during the workday. Okay, tip number 2 we're going to talk about is going to be really indicative as well to the CRM demonstration we're going to show here in a little bit, and that's what I like to call trust but verify. So with more and more team members working remotely, you know, Steve, how do you feel comfortable that your team is engaged in performing the impactful activities that they need to be doing to help you, you know, get to your quota?
Yeah, I think that really depends on the type of team that you're running. For us, it's really not it's not so metrics driven, and it's not a matter of how many dials people are making or how many emails they're sending every day, right? We're not at that kind of an organization within the channel. It's really more about looking at pipeline building and opportunities that are in flight with our partners. And so I can pretty well assess how engaged we are just on our weekly update calls as to, you know, if my team can talk about opportunities that they're pursuing, the engagement with the partners, the engagement with the prospects. That's really all I need to know that, you know, we're moving forward and we're busy and we're doing the right things. We do have teams within NetSuite that, for example, are business development representatives, which are all about lead gen and following up on inbound leads. And they are very much a metrics-driven organization. So the managers of that team, they are looking at dials and emails and interaction, and they have their scoreboard for their teams, making sure that they're hitting those metrics to drive the results they're looking for. They have a very definitive funnel of the number of touches, results, and number of qualified leads. So it really depends on your organization, but I think everybody can figure out what's impactful through their business, and that's what they need to focus on driving. Great.
Yeah, and I mentioned in your quota earlier, you're looking at about a $39 million quota as far as new sales and renewals is concerned. Can you give us a quick overview of what that territory looks like, how many people you have reporting to you, where they're located?
Sure. Right now I've got a total of 9 direct reports, and we're kind of functionally, part of the team is focused on net new business. That's new customer acquisition and what we call new logos. And the rest of the team is focused on managing the install base, looking at upsells, selling additional components of the NetSuite product offering, as well as managing our existing customers' renewals. The territory that I manage is the Eastern US, so everything kind of east of the Mississippi, and a couple of partners in Canada as well. And we probably have a roster of about 45 active solution provider partners within that region right now that are operating.
And so you mentioned, right, that it's not necessarily, okay, how many outbound dials did you make? How many lunch meetings did you set, right? Those aren't really the activities that are driving what you need to see in order to achieve your goals and make sure that your team members are. So what type of data, information, maybe a report that you get daily or weekly is one of the ones that you depend on the most from the NetSuite CRM product?
Yeah, for us, it really is it's a couple of things. One, it's lead. We do look at lead registrations from our partners. So if our partners continue to build their pipeline and their funnel, that's a good measure that at the partner level, they're engaged in marketing activities and outbound activities that are building opportunity pipeline for everybody. So that's one of the things that we take a hard look at. And the other thing is really just looking at the reports we have for our funnels. So we typically look really hard at the current month, clearly. And then we also do a sanity check on basically a full quarter's view of the opportunities that are in play. We have a pretty good sense of what our funnel looks like from qualified opportunities that are in flight and where we are in those opportunities. So if partners are just starting to do their first demo, we know that that might be a little bit longer term opportunity for us versus somebody that's in the final process of presenting their statement of work to a client. We know that one's probably pretty close and maybe closing in a week or two. So those are the types of things that we look at, but we're very much revenue driven, and we're unique in that we have a monthly hard close here at NetSuite. So every month we have quotas and we have expectation to deliver. So we have a lot of focus on the near term as it relates to the data that we're tracking of where we are in a deal cycle. And Aaron, you've probably felt that in working with Matt on my team, that we ask a lot of questions about, the when, who, and why of opportunities that you shared with us.
Yeah, I think too, one of the things that you mentioned previously to me is that you've got a report that indicates if there is a change in the opportunity status that you use.
Yep.
And so talk a little bit more about that and how that helps you kind of trust but verify what's going on in the actual validity of the pipeline.
Right. For my team, I only like to have a once weekly kind of an update call where we talk about any number of things, but the main focus is on the forecast and what we think is going to close in the given month or the given quarter. But external to that, I do get a report that I can look at that shows the status change. So if one of my team members moves a deal that we were tracking for this month and they change the expected close date to next month, I know that without having to wait till next week's call or necessarily tie up their time on the phone to dig into, hey, why has this happened? Or it looks like your forecast has changed. What made the numbers change? I can see that through these reports that I get every morning in my mailbox. So things like that are very helpful to kind of keep a close view of the business without tying up a lot of my team. And so they can focus on just using the system, entering the data that we're asking them to enter, and then having to regurgitate it to me or send me a spreadsheet or emails with updates on a daily basis. So it's a big time saver for everybody involved. And it's a great way to have a very accurate view of what's really in play for a given period that we're tracking.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Steve, for sharing that. And I think we could help some of our customers leverage that type of report as well, right?
Yep.
Something that I've put in my back pocket since I know it's been a useful tool for you. So the next tip that I was going to talk about goes into that cadence as well. And this is really about, establishing mutual accountability, what I call a no surprise environment. And really it's all about, I think, setting clear expectations and establishing that effective communication cadence. So you said earlier that you have a weekly call with all the team members. What kind of cadence are you implicating there for your team? Do you quarterly business reviews? What type of check-ins are you typically having?
Yeah, for my team, it's very much, we have a calendar time to get together once a week, and I do it by individual group. I don't do all my team. I try to keep it by territory so that I'm not wasting people's time listening into things that may not be relevant for their particular territory and the tasks they have at hand. So that's number one, to try to be respectful of everybody's time. But beyond that, it's just a lot of interaction throughout the day. I mean, I have days where I only have one or two things on my calendar, but at the end of the day, you end up, having been on the phone for 7 hours. So I think we've all experienced that you have to be, very accessible to the team when you're managing remote groups. But for us, we really rely on the system for this no surprise environment where, I can go in and look at forecast in real time at any time. I usually check that a couple of times a day. I can check and see how much business we have in, which is a real time system in NetSuite. So every time we process an order, our business in for the month updates automatically. Yeah. I can look at leads being registered by our partners, so I get a sense of how our pipeline's building for future months. Mm-hmm. So the nicety that we have is that a lot of this no surprise comes from just using the system and then relying on the system to be the system of truth for all the activity that's taking place.
Mm-hmm. Great, yeah, and I think this has been something that I've utilized in my career, and it's really about that clear communication. So just to go over some of the aspects of what I think helps to create a no surprise environment, and this is definitely a two-way street, is that you always, especially when you're working remotely, you're not going to run into these people, like you said, at the water cooler every morning, or see them in the parking lot as you come in. So those little, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? Conversations, right, that are pretty typical in an office environment are minimal. So you really want to try to keep track of all the delegated work by, first repeat, paraphrase, gain mutual agreement on a completion date. Keep track of it, whether that's in a folder in your Outlook box or in NetSuite. It's a great place to keep track of that as well. And then really just insist on results, no surprises, by helping also to teach people to say no to a particular request because they have another obligation, they don't feel like the timeline's accurate, but they have to come with a proposed solution. So anytime that you have an issue or a challenge or you can't meet a deadline, get updated as soon as possible and definitely come with a solution as well. So lastly, before we get into the demonstration, I think we just want to have a little conversation around how to keep your team engaged. So it's been something, again, as more and more people are working from home. If you're building teams of salespeople that are going to be working in different geographic regions, what are some creative solutions that you might be able to come up with to create engagement? Anything that you've seen impactful, Steve, over the last couple of months in particular?
Yeah, I think the happy hour, the virtual happy hour, seems to be a popular theme with the NetSuite
Sure.
sales team in general. I've personally haven't done a lot of those with my team, just because I think we all talk quite a bit throughout the day, and there's 10 of us on the team. But I do know that for some of the larger groups, for our direct sales organization, I know that they do a lot of these virtual happy hours, and maybe it seems like every week they got some kind of an event going on like
Right.
that. But and then I think the other thing is probably using more Zoom. Although I'm starting to get a sense that people that have been using Zoom for the last couple of months are starting to feel a little bit of Zoom fatigue, where at some point you know what your colleagues look like. You don't really need to see them live on your screen every time you talk to them.
You're in the sales cave, it looks like. Is that like the bat cave for sales leaders?
It is. It's where I go to to get away from everybody. But the tools are great, right? I mean, we use Slack here, so we're constantly hitting each other up on Slack for quick and easy questions. Sure. We're heavy email users. Then of course we do Zoom kind of sparingly on my team, mm-hmm. but it is nice when we have kind of a broader gathering, or it's more of a true webinar where you would really want to present something and go through some slides. I think it's great to have everybody on the same mm-hmm. page following along, and you can actually make sure that people aren't multitasking when you're giving an important presentation, if you can see them on the video camera.
Aaron.
What was that? What?
Yeah. Aaron, coming from both sides of the coin, sitting on Steve's side of the organization and working with my sales teams, and then also being onboarded and starting a new career path with Oasis during a pandemic. I mean, these engagement mm-hmm. opportunities and communication are key, and just making you feel a part of the team. And salespeople by nature, as we mentioned earlier, they're social people, right? Or they should be. They should have a personality that people want to engage and want to be around. And so these virtual water coolers and happy hours, peer group meetings, and Steve hit on it last time when we were chatting a little bit. You don't always want the boss on the virtual happy hour per se, no offense, Steve, but you want your peers around so you can commiserate a little bit talk about deals that you won, deals you lost, or just your kids or whatever. But you know, I think just being able to you know, engage and really have a good communication using the tools that are available is imperative to keeping a remote sales team engaged and to keep them rolling and keep feeling part of the organization.
That's a great point, Matt. One of the things that we, our teams do here internally is that we do sort of organize by functional groups. So like folks, their regional sales managers might have a call every couple of weeks or once a month where they talk about things that are relevant to them. Another team that does the account management will have their own group and their own thread. And I do really highly recommend that kind of a structure. You know, within your organizations, give the different functional groups the tools they need and the wherewithal and the invitation to have their own little get-togethers to talk about things that are relevant to them. And it doesn't always play well if you have Big Brother looking over their shoulder, just let them do their thing, and much like they would in a non-virtual environment, right? People kind of get together in their peer groups and do things, and I think you want to try to replicate as much as you can when you have a remote team. Yeah,
I agree. So it was interesting, bringing on Matt. You said, Steve, that you had onboarded somebody that you hadn't met yet. Started right in the middle of March, so we were with people in the office in the conference room first. We had him introduced to everyone within the organization virtually, and we have been doing virtual lunch and learns for our company. We have a small company, over 23 people, so trying to get everybody to feel that camaraderie. We're also holding monthly company meetings, and we do also department scrums. We just initiated one during this pandemic for our sales marketing team. So it's a quick 15-minute chat at the beginning of the morning. What did you do yesterday? What do you got going on today? And are you stuck? Anywhere that you're stuck, that your team members can help you. And I think it's helped us just to continuously have that cadence and communication and keep track of what's going on with our days and help each other where we can. So those are some tips from your sales leaders here. And given the next piece of our presentation today, I'm going to stop my share and turn it over to Michael Drury. Michael Drury is going to take us through a high-level NetSuite CRM demo. And then I'll come back for Q&A. Take it away, Michael.
And make sure I'm not muted, right? All right, thank you, Aaron and Steve and Matt. That's some helpful information that you shared there with us. So I'm going to go through a presentation here of NetSuite. So part of the conversations that Aaron, Matt, and Steve were talking about were tools, and NetSuite is one such tool to basically going to manage your remote sales team. So I've already logged into NetSuite. With NetSuite, you can use any browser. Just need to have access to that internet of netsuite.com, and you can log in with your username and password. I'm going to go through the presentation here in the beginning as a sales manager, and in time permitting, I'll switch my role over into a sales rep and see what kind of the different information and tasks that you would see with kind of the two different roles that you would have. But as a sales manager, I want to be able to see all information right here on my dashboard as soon as I log in. What is going to be the most important stuff that I need to see? As you can see over here on the far left, I have a series of reminders. So I have sales orders that I need to approve. There's some others pending fulfillment. There's a bunch of opportunities that we need to close. Please provide links to those actual tasks so that I can quickly approve all my sales orders without having to hold those up. On the kind of middle page here, we see some tiles. These are quick or shortcuts to, let's say, open quotes. So it's just going to pull up another a quick report, so something I can see looking at all my different quotes that I have out here. I've got several that should have already closed by now. And go back to my dashboard again, and then look at some of the other information that's really important. Steve talked about kind of managing and looking at data such as like new leads as they come through. What are our sales for this current month versus last month? Looking at quota information, forecast, other opportunities, what's been won, what's been lost. So being able to look at your KPIs without having to run a report or go through a menu to access that information, all of it right here on the dashboard. If you want to look at your top salespeople, you can kind of quickly be able to see a graph of these and see what the amounts are for the given period. And if you want to look at it in a nice little circle, you'll be able to kind of change this and look at that as well. So again, having that information is really key. Looking at your pipeline, seeing what the funnel is what as far as the amounts do you have in this particular quarter that we're working at. Looking at your monthly sales trends, seeing how things are kind of going up and down and everything. There's also some additional information that you can see based off customers. So it's like a customer scorecard, being able to see information as in real time as things are, transactions are posted or entered. Looking at it today, this week, this month, last month, and looking at a quarterly basis. Looking at your sales, you're not doing too well today. Okay. At any point, you see a little pop-up trend graph of that particular data element for our sales. Yeah, it's not looking good every single day, but at least we've got some sales going on. But being able to get to that information quickly is what's really important. Looking at some of your sales orders, like right now. So I've got one here that's pending billing. Well, we need to get that billed, right? So I can quickly create a task directly from my dashboard. I can tell somebody in the accounting department to go out and let's see, bill the customer. Okay, assign that to the employee in accounting. When we want this due. Okay, and I can't type, sorry. All right, and so now what's going to happen is an email is going to be sent to the employee, and it's going to show up as also in their reminders too, to make sure that they go and bill this the sales order for this. So directly from the dashboard, I'm able to create these tasks, create additional opportunities, and everything from here. So pretty cool. All right, and then another cute little KPI meter here, looking at our open opportunities that we have, and you can look at other data elements that just by kind of changing what we've got here. So that's just some information that you can add onto your dashboard. All users can have either the same dashboard, or you get to personalize this and add the information that you want to see and what's very important for you. Okay. So I've got a couple of tabs of some reports and stuff already open, and so I just want to kind of quickly go through these. First one here is just kind of an example of a forecasting report, looking at it by all the salespeople, how they roll up to their sales manager. You can see the one that I am here is Tracy. And here's all the different sales reps that roll up and report to Tracy. One of the things that Steve mentioned is that he gets the report on a weekly basis. So maybe if this is the report that looking at your forecast, if you want to schedule this yourself, you go and say, okay, every Tuesday afternoon, I want this report. Maybe I don't want it Tuesday, I want it Monday morning, and then change the time. Okay. So you'll be able to schedule those reports, and then once it's scheduled, you don't have to do anything else but open your email every Monday morning. Okay. So it's just kind of an example of the forecast report. Now there are a lot of other reports that we have out here, just a lot of standard reports to be able to get that information. So this is looking at it by sales rep. Maybe you would look at your pipeline by customer. Got this one here as well. So it's just looking at what we do have out in our pipeline for any of the opportunities that we have actually sent out there. From here, if you wanted to drill down, you could get to the actual detail and see the different transactions. You could go drill down into the customer record as well. Another thing that we can do is set up quotas for all your sales reps for each period. So you can see here, the January through August for this particular sales rep, this is the amount that they're of their quotas. So being able to establish quotas, manage their forecast opportunities, being able to get that information in here. One of the other things that that we can do is we can set up different sales territories, lead routing. Okay, have this open. Sorry, but one request we had from one of recently from one of our clients is that they wanted to be able to, rather than set up their sales territory by state or by location, they wanted to do it based upon the industry of the customer. So an example here, I've created one for the hospitality, in that as far as my role, it's going to be applied based off the industry. So as new leads are brought in through the system, you can automatically be routed to the right salesperson based upon the roles that you have established here. So rather than doing it by a state or a location, we're doing it based upon another field. That's our industry. We can also set up team selling if that's how you do that, and put in the different percentages that each one of these sales reps would be responsible for, or what % of commission they would be able to receive. Looking at a customer list, well, pretty exciting stuff here. But in our customer list, this little green guy over here on the far left gives us the ability here, if I wanted to, for this customer, I can create a new opportunity, I can add new contacts, I can even create a new task, just like I did earlier for that one order. So if you can go in and put in a task, hey, we need to follow up, we need to call Aaron and get him to buy some more from us. We also have a customer dashboard. So from the customer dashboard, we have KPIs, there's customer information, there's reports, links to different, for a lot of different reports, but they're specific to this particular customer. You can create some additional activities. So activities, every time you make a phone call, every time that you send an email, any task that you have for that particular customer, track those activities. And that's something that we have one of our clients that they manage their sales rep based upon one of their KPIs is the number of activities. Basically, the more activities you have on your leads, your prospects, customers, more likely to close the business. So that was like one of their required KPIs as we were going through the project. You can also set up and use support cases to manage any issues to resolution within the organization. So one of our clients, the way that they use the case, every time a customer calls and they have an issue with a shipment of their product, they create that case, and then they manage that, whether they're going to issue a refund either, or send additional product, send a gift card, but then they just manage it to when they do have that resolution, and it gives the visibility on any of the items that they may have issues with. If there was some scratch and dents, or just something happened with shipping, so just being able to track any of those issues you have with customers. We can create the transactions directly from here. So if you want to go ahead and create a quote, you'd be able to do that. And then kind of have the visibility into all the different transactions that you have, the quotes, the opportunities, and get back to seeing the history of that. And then some of the top sales as far as what has been issued. You can see here we've just got a couple of activities for Aaron. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my gears here. I'm going to turn into a salesperson. So I know that's kind of making Aaron nervous, right? Okay, so this is
very nervous.
The dashboard. Thanks. Okay, so switching over to a sales role, you have different information that as a salesperson, what you may want to have on your dashboard, what's important to you, right? So different reminders, I've got a couple of new leads out here. I've got 13 opportunities to close. Well, maybe I want to take a look at those opportunities and see if there's anything that I can do with those as far as getting those to close. So being able to manage all of these, there's different opportunity status, well, maybe there's this one here with Oasis that I've been talking with them. We're in discussion. Maybe we need to move this up to a different stage and start getting that proposal ready for them. So now we're going to be able to see our opportunities, and the values of those opportunities will now be reflected in different statuses on our reports and everything that we have. But again, being able to manage all your open opportunities that you have to get them to the proposal, to get them to the quote status, and then eventually get it where we have a sales order. Okay, so again, reminders, just shortcuts there for us. Some of the other things, nice graphs here. You can see this is my pipeline. Refresh this here after making a change. It should be a little bit different. Notice now my proposal value is a little bit larger after I made the change just a minute ago on that one proposal or that one opportunity. KPI meters, I like looking at my sales every single month and seeing how they how that continues to grow. Not having to run a report, just being able to quickly get through there. And then one of the things that a lot of our clients really love is being able to add a new lead quickly without having to go and put in a lot of information all at one time. So let's see. And just want to fill in some information. I think I left off a number. Let's say this is just some of the key information that I want to make sure I manage and track. This came from a trade show, and then I can just save that. So I quickly added the lead. Now when I look back up here at my reminders, and then if I refresh, we're going to see now I've got 3 new leads. So from here, I should be able to see the one that I just added. And then from my list, I can go in and I can edit and start putting in the rest of the information, you know, at a later time. You know how salespeople like to put in a lot of information, right? Okay. Okay.
Probably not.
And yes, there we go.
Just the facts.
Yep. Let's see. Paper. Okay. So I'm just putting in the contact's name. I have a lot of data, a lot of information to be able to put in, and things we might want to track on our leads or prospects and customers. If there's going to be a territory for this one, unless we're going to have it routed automatically. Then when we come down here toward the bottom, we'll see that we have our communication. This is where we'll be able to track and send emails directly out of the application. Emails, being able to have that visibility of all the communication that you do have with your leads, prospects, and your customers. All the different activities would be logged here, being able to capture all of those. Any files, documents, maybe some contracts, NDA agreements, things like that that you may want to attach there. Any other kind of notes that you may have. There's a lot of different information fields that are available, kind of budget, things that you want to be able to track and kind of manage to your leads, or prospects, or customers. So depending on what kind of there's like different statuses that you do have for leads, whether it's qualified or unqualified. Once we create an opportunity for your lead, then they will at that point become a prospect. And then from that prospect, being able to manage that opportunity on the different stages that you identify. Okay. All right. Let me go back to my. So now you can see that with this particular, we've got the individual. Now, what we can do at this point, we can convert this to have this automatically create an opportunity for us. So the conversion process for a lead to a prospect. We come down here. How do we want to assign the sales rep? either assign somebody or use our territories based on whatever was selected there. And then as far as being able to create the contact, it will do that. Sorry, clicking too much. And then we can create the opportunity. And we're going to sell a lot. When do we expect that to close? The next couple of days. What's our status? We create a task as well. We'll follow up. And we want to do that tomorrow. Okay. And then we would submit this. So now we've got our lead is now a prospect. An opportunity is automatically created, as well as a new task for myself. Okay. Come down here. We look at the name of our sales. Now, from the customer record or the prospect record, we're able to look at the opportunities and then kind of manage it through the process. An alert can actually be sent out to your sales manager and be able to see that this new opportunity that has been created. All the reports are now going to be reflective of this new opportunity. So we need the pipeline reports that we do have, be able to manage that and see that. So from the opportunity, it says a typical process flow. The next thing to do is that we can turn this actually into an actual quote, and then start adding the product or services that we need to. Okay. And then after that, to a sales order, to then get to the part where we're doing an invoice, and then get the money. So
great.
Running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and stop and let Aaron. You just take over.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, appreciate that very much. And of course, we can show more of the demonstration as it continues through the quoting process, as well as turning it into an order and fulfilling, and then receiving cash, which is what we all like to see at the end of the demonstration as well. I really appreciate that, Michael. Thanks for the high level. Of course, if anybody wants to see, again, more end-to-end demonstration or dig deeper on CRM, we can do that. And so now we've had a couple minutes here left in the hour for some Q&A. So we're open to any questions that the audience and attendees might have. And one that came in was when you were talking about that approval level, Michael, inherently there are some sales folks that will look for opportunities to gain new clients, and that might be through offering discounts. So, Steve, I want to know from your perspective, how does NetSuite kind of route those and use the application to manage that discount request process?
Sure. Yeah, we have a lot of different workflows built into the various sales activities that we undertake, but one specifically is called a deal desk approval. And it routes to sales management, a couple of levels of sales management, as well as sales operations. And depending on the asks, it may even go to our contracts legal group. But basically, we for every deal that has non-standard discounting, it approval routes that you get a notification in email, and you can click approve right through email, and it just routes from there. So it really is as easy as one-click approvals or one-click request for more information on these things. But we leverage that in just about every single one of our transactions.
And we've got a customer manufacturer who has explained to us he thinks he's limited or saved upwards of $10,000 last year by initiating a workflow approval process where he gets a notification that gets in an email and also comes through a push notification on his NetSuite mobile app anytime that a discount threshold has been above their margin, their 3% additional margin that they have to work with. So I think that's helped him get more visibility into that process, feel more comfortable, and then that's when the explaining has to happen, right? They need some kind of reasoning of why they're going to be offering that additional discounting.
Yep.
So that's something that I think we're very experienced in accommodating and consulting on those workflows as well. Another question that came in was just during this time, what's been the biggest impact of COVID on managing a remote sales force, and how have you adjusted to that? And Steve, I don't think you've had to make too big an adjustment, hopefully.
No, we've been somewhat fortunate from an operational perspective. Clearly, I think probably more now than ever, and this obviously sounds like a plug, but more than ever, I think cloud-based solutions for your business make a ton of sense. So you can very quickly move people from an office to a remote location without missing a beat from a day-to-day using the systems perspective. So for my particular team, it really hasn't been a big impact in the way that we do our daily business, but we've heard a lot of stories from existing customers that it's been they're very happy they have the right infrastructure in place to accommodate these kinds of situations.
Yeah, I'd echo those sentiments as well. We've got a lot of customers, one in particular that's relatively new to the platform and is just blown away how easy it is to get to the data that he used to operate his business, to manage his sales team. For me personally, it's been the juggling act of childcare has been the biggest impact that it's had on me, managing myself, managing my relationship with Matt and the team members, making sure that I can try to get the door closed and keep the dog from barking and the kids from screaming as they wrestle each other for who's going to have the Nintendo next. All right, one other question we had here was regarding kind of some of the additional processes around how the sales order quoting process occurs. So how do you handle a complex quoting process? And so I think, there's a couple of different ways that we've addressed that for different customers. And some people have pretty straightforward quotes, and you would need to know more about what complexity looks like, but there are particular tools out there. We actually had a partner solution that sponsored our last virtual NetSuite user group function called Verenia, and they're working with a customer of ours that's a paving company. And so they have a pretty complex quoting process because there's a lot of drivers for how those quotes affect their margin, their materials, and their labor costs. So they're a big commercial paver. They go out and they will take an aerial photograph and size out a large parking lot that they're going to pave, and they have a lot of drivers on how deep is the asphalt going to be. Are we going to have to tear off, or are we just going to lay over? Do they have curbings? What's the type of curbing? Is it cement? Is it concrete? Are we doing striping? How many stripes are we doing? So all of those different drivers that they have, this really complex and convoluted Excel document that one person kind of had the tribal knowledge on. We're able to implement this thing called any quoting process and keep it all in application platform, which is another big testament to the partnerships and additional solutions that we try to partner with, so that everything stays within the NetSuite platform. And again, it's accessible anywhere, anytime that you can connect to the internet, which is really what we're trying to help our customers leverage, the devices and the technologies that they all use to manage their daily lives and their business operations, and get to that data and information that they want as well. So if you have any additional questions, you can reach out to me at any time. I've got Aaron at oasisky.com. My cell phone number is available on my signature as well. We welcome your questions. We want to help you learn more about the NetSuite platform. We want to help you, more importantly, leverage the tools, because at the end of the day, NetSuite is just a tool. It's a great tool, but we really want to impact your people, your processes, and help you build those and foster those environments where you can get the most information out of the tools possible. So thanks, Steve Mullen, for joining us today and helping us with some tips on how to manage remote sales teams. Thanks, Michael Drury, for going through the demonstration. Matt Simons for adding color commentary and bringing your background and experience to today's webinar. We hope that we get more questions from you and that we can help you determine if NetSuite's right for your business. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much.